Okay, I'm back to continue. Joe Biden's achievements. American leadership around the world. From day one, President Biden strengthened America's core strategic advantages, reasserting America's leadership on the world stage, implementing policies to make the United States economy the strongest in the world, modernizing the United States military, and reinvigorating America's unmatched network of alliances and partnerships. In doing so, this administration secured America's vital interests and advanced its values. Our economy became the envy of the world. Our military remained the strongest fighting force the world has known. Our alliances and partnerships were stronger, deeper, and more integrated, and our country better positioned to outmaneuver our competitors and adversaries while leading global efforts to tackle shared challenges. The combined impact of these efforts made the American people more secure, prosperous, and proud of our global leadership. Key accomplishments of the President Biden administration. During his presidency, President Biden ended the longest war in American history in Afghanistan. There's a lot to that story. I'll just keep going. Of how the administration before him screwed that up. Supported Ukraine as it bravely defended its freedom and democracy in the face of Russia's unprovoked illegal invasion, allowing Kyiv to defy expectations that it would fall in a matter of days. Biden rallied more than 50 countries to stand with Ukraine, providing Ukraine with economic and financial support to defend its territory, and imposing costs on Russia through the strongest ever multilateral sanctions and export controls campaign. Biden expanded and strengthened NATO, adding Finland and Sweden as member states, shored up deterrence across Europe, and ensured that the majority of NATO countries are paying their fair share toward the common defense. Biden strengthened our competitive position, and Biden responsibly managed competition with the People's Republic of China. Biden rallied the G7 to counteract China's persistent industrial targeting and comprehensive non-market policies and practices. Leveled the playing field for American workers and businesses by standing up to the PRC's unfair economic practices through targeted tariffs on imports in strategic sectors such as steel, aluminum, and semiconductors. Biden reinvigorated America's network of alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific, including through the U.S.-Japan ROK and U.S.-Japan-Philippines trilaterals, the Quad, AUKUS, IPEF, expanded partnership with the Philippines, and elevated relationships with India, Indonesia, Vietnam, ASEAN, and Pacific Island countries. Biden created a new strategy towards sub-Saharan Africa that recognizes the continent's critical role in advancing our global priorities in the 21st century, and followed up on that strategy with commitments at the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. Biden significantly enhanced the value proposition of United States partnership to emerging market and developing countries through investment, economic partnership, and reform of multilateral development banks. Biden brought home more than 75 unjustly detained Americans from prisons abroad, including Brittany Griner, Paul Whelan, Evan Gershkovich, and David Lynn. Biden led a coalition of countries in defending Israel after Hamas launched its terrorist attack on October 7th, and when Iran launched hundreds of missiles with the support of its proxies. Biden removed terrorist leaders from the battlefield, including al-Qaeda, Emir al-Zawahiri, Haras al-Din Emir al-Makki, ISIS Emir al-Quraishi and his deputy, and a key ISIS operative and facilitator, al-Sudani. Biden fundamentally revised the United States approach to technology and national security, putting together a toolkit to ensure that sensitive technologies do not end up in the hands of those who would use it against America and its allies and partners. Biden established global AI leadership, guiding global efforts to ensure AI norms reflect our interests and values while ensuring the United States remained at the cutting edge of AI technology. Biden imposed export controls to restrict the highest performing AI chips and other sensitive technologies from falling into the hands of those who could use them against the United States. This is really important right now. Secured nearly $450 billion in private manufacturing investments catalyzed by the CHIPS and Science Act to boost domestic supply chains and ensure the technologies of the future are made in America. Biden produced 4 nanometer leading-edge logic semiconductors on American soil for the first time ever, also marking the first time that leading-edge chips have been domestically produced in over a decade. Biden updated and restructured the United States government's approach to protecting U.S. critical infrastructure from increasingly grave threats from adversaries and natural hazards. Biden forged a new partnership of 70 nations and international organizations to combat and prevent ransomware attacks through the International Counter-Ransomware Initiative. Biden ended the COVID pandemic at home and donated nearly 700 million COVID vaccines to other countries. Biden partnered with more than 60 countries to help prevent and prepare for future health emergencies. Advanced rights and opportunities for women and girls, launching partnerships to help close the gender digital divide. Build childcare infrastructure, increase access to jobs, and address gender-based violence globally. Expanded, enhanced, revitalized alliances and partnerships. America's alliances and partnerships are the strongest, were. They had been at any point in recent history because of President Biden's work to revitalize relationships with countries around the world. Through high-level leader summits, President Biden hosted high-level leader summits with partners from Africa, the Americas, Europe, and the Indo-Pacific. He helped restore the G7 as a premier platform in coordinating the international response to the biggest challenges that the world has faced in years, from an international pandemic to energy security, and he rallied G7 partners to impose swift economic costs on Russia for its brutal war against Ukraine. President Biden led the way in the groundbreaking G7 announcement to make $50 billion available to Ukraine without burdening taxpayers by leveraging the extraordinary revenues of immobilized Russian sovereign assets. In the Indo-Pacific, President Biden's diplomacy made America more secure by deepening our economic and security partnerships in the region, both bilaterally and multilaterally. The Biden-Harris administration launched the historic security partnership AUKUS with Australia and the United Kingdom, spurred unprecedented trilateral defense and economic cooperation between the United States, South Korea, and Japan, and launched a new trilateral partnership with United States treaty allies Japan and the Philippines. The administration also elevated other partnerships in the region, including with India, Indonesia, Vietnam, ASEAN, and the Pacific Island countries. President Biden deepened economic engagement with 13 Indo-Pacific partners under the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, IPEF, and expanded technology innovation through the U.S.-India Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technology. And Biden elevated the Quad with Australia, India, and Japan to the leader level and hosted 2 historic summits with Pacific Island countries. In Europe, President Biden oversaw the expansion of NATO with the addition of Sweden and Finland as member states, quickly winning strong congressional support for their accession. The administration worked to shore up deterrence across Europe. When President Biden took office, only 9 of our NATO allies met the target to spend 2% of their GDP on defense. Today, 23 allies have met their defense spending commitments. President Biden hosted the historic 75th anniversary NATO summit in 2024 in Washington, which demonstrated the strength and unity of the transatlantic alliance. At the summit, he also built on the accession of Finland to further deepen important security ties within the NATO alliance by launching alongside Canada the Icebreaker collaboration effort to reinforce the importance of collaboration on economic security and defense industrial policy issues among NATO members. As a result, NATO is bigger, stronger, better resourced, and more united than ever. Africa. President Biden elevated the U.S. partnerships on the continent. He made an historic visit to Cabo Verde, a key democratic partner, and to Angola, where he celebrated the transformation of the relationship in the Lobito Trans-African Corridor, which will unlock inclusive economic growth and secure critical mineral supply chains. In a symbol of the close and growing relationship between the U.S. and Kenya, President Biden designated Kenya as the United States' first major non-NATO ally in sub-Saharan Africa. The Biden-Harris administration also elevated African representation on the global stage, successfully championing the African Union to become a permanent member to the G20, and announcing support for UN Security Council reform that adds 2 permanent seats for African nations. In the Middle East. In the Middle East, the Biden-Harris administration strengthened relations with partners across the region, and through a transformative agenda of regional integration, established regional air defense networks and agreements to secure sea-to-rail linkages from India through the Gulf, Jordan, Israel, and into Europe through Italy and Greece. Traditional adversaries of the United States, including Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and other Iranian-supported militant groups, were in their weakest points in decades, and the Assad regime had fallen, while America's position with its regional partners continued to strengthen across security and commercial sectors. After Hamas sought to derail these efforts through an invasion of Israel from Gaza on October 7, 2023, and then the launch of a multi-front war against Israel from Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Iran, coordinated diplomacy and new security partnerships kept the U.S. out of a broader conflict while supporting the defense of Israel at the time. This led to a ceasefire in Lebanon with Hezbollah's leadership dismantled, Israel's successful self-defense strikes against Iran, and ultimately the collapse of the Assad regime due to the weakened position of Russia and Iran. President Biden set forth the roadmap for ending the war in Gaza through a ceasefire and a hostage release deal, a roadmap endorsed unanimously in the UN Security Council. New historic partnerships. The Biden-Harris administration also created new historic partnerships, such as the America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity, to drive the Western Hemisphere's recovery and growth to deliver for working people. Under the LA Declaration on Migration and Protection, the administration brought together 22 countries to drive integration of migrants within the region, expand lawful pathways, and strengthen humane enforcement to reduce irregular migration. The administration also leveraged partnerships to create space for the Venezuelan people to express their desire for democratic change. In response to Maduro's fraudulent claims to victory, the administration brought together over 50 countries to press Maduro's representatives to release full results and cease repression that has seen over 2,000 arrests and 24 deaths. The Biden-Harris administration rallied partners from every region of the world to support the people of Haiti, leveraging multilateral platforms to spotlight the crisis in Haiti, and raising over $100 million in partner country pledges for the first of its kind UN-authorized multinational security support mission to Haiti. President Biden deepened the strategic relationship with Brazil, launching a new partnership for workers' rights to empower workers and promote decent work, as well as a new Brazil-U.S. partnership for the energy transition. To be continued.